All right, Matt Barrows is here, covers the 49ers for The Athletic. He is an author. Muddy the Water is the book, and we'll skip that for now because we got to talk draft, but I want to talk about your book, which I'm very much enjoying. How are you, man?
I'm great.
That's
Glad to be on. Where is Chris Biederman?
Biederman is on his honeymoon, is what I've been told, in a super top secret location.
Yeah.
So I can't wait to hear all about it once he gets back. But I told him, I said, dude, you don't need to podcast on your honeymoon. He's like, I'll bring my stuff. I'll bring my recordings because he's ready to grind. Like he doesn't hide from the grind. But I told him, take a few days off, and we'll get back into it.
I hope he's not doing draft research on his honeymoon, because that would be a real red flag for the missus, I think. If Biederman is droning on about like the Ohio State defensive ends and how awesome they are,
absolutely,
how the 49ers should draft Jack Sawyer in the third round. That's a red flag. Red flag right there.
It's like, babe, I'm almost through the day 3 picks. We'll go get a drink in a second. Hang on. No, he's hopefully not doing too much football stuff while he's out where he is. So I want to start with Walter Nolan.
Mm-hmm.
This is a name that has come up a lot in your piece on 30 Visits. You mentioned he's a possibility for the Niners at 11. You've got Albert Breer today reporting in Sports Illustrated. Not reporting, kind of hinting in Sports Illustrated that he's a team to watch, or the 49ers are a team to watch with Nolan. Is that a real thing, or is this just one of those classic lying seasons? He kind of makes sense for the Niners, so sure, they'll let everybody think that he's their guy.
I think he's a good scheme fit. Because he is that guy that gets off the line of scrimmage really quickly and penetrates really well. And the 49ers have a gaping hole at defensive tackle. I mean, if the season started tomorrow, it would be Jordan Elliott and Kevin Givens as your starters at defensive tackle. So taken together, I mean, I think Walter Nolan is one of the three names who are kind of most likely. And when you consider who's going to be available, what they like, what their draft history is, I think Walter Nolan's up there. I have heard that there are some character concerns with him, and I think it mostly revolves around him going from school to school, as far back as high school, basically chasing the money wherever he goes. So, I mean, I think that's part of the reason that they brought him out, just to kind of sort through that. But, nothing serious about that. But at 11, you want to make sure it's the right guy. So, yeah, I'd say there's a good chance, at least 33% chance he's the guy on Thursday.
Who were the other two names you were thinking about there?
Mike L. Williams, the Georgia defensive end, and then I'm having a hard time talking myself into it, but Kelvin Banks, the Texas offensive tackle, I don't think he's that good. And mainly because I did a lot of research on Mike L. Williams, and when Georgia played Texas 2 times last year, Georgia had their way with the Texas offensive line, including Kelvin Banks. So, I'm prejudiced just from kind of watching those games really closely. I don't know, Banks played better throughout the rest of the season, but I mean, it's a big area of need for this team. I don't know who the swing tackle is right now for the 49ers. Might be Spencer Burford, might be somebody else we're not thinking of, Austin Pleasance, but they need to have a better plan, because Trent Williams going to be 37 when the season starts. Kyle, he has not played a full season since 2013, so you can almost depend on him missing a game or a handful of games each year. So I would think that finding a competent tackle and a tackle for the future has to be something that they do on day 1 or day 2.
The thing that's always stuck out to me with Kelvin Banks, and this just kind of gives me, again, I'm not diving into this like your colleague at The Athletic, Dan Burglar, who I think is one of the best doing it, or Daniel Jeremiah or Mel Kiper, or guys like that, right? But as soon as I hear, yeah, this guy was an offensive tackle his entire career, that's the only position he's played. Oh, but in the NFL, he's going to be a guard. That just scares me. That doesn't, I don't, so I'm with you on the Kelvin Banks thing, man. I almost wonder if there's better value in trying to find that player on maybe day 2, where they're the swing tackle in year 1 and you're developing them as the eventual Trent Williams replacement. That seems to make more sense to me than taking a guy who might not even be able to play the position in the NFL.
Yeah, and the 49ers, if you look at their draft visit list, there are a lot of tackles that they brought in who are second-round guys.
Mhm.
Starting with Josh Simmons from Ohio State. I think he's the best tackle in the draft. He happens to have had a patellar tendon injury in October. That's a serious. I mean, you could argue that's more serious than an ACL.
Oh, yeah.
It's what Drake Jackson's dealing with now. He's not dealing with it well. I don't think there's a lot of optimism about Drake Jackson having a great offseason with his team. Mike McGlinchey, it bothered him, and
Mhm.
Lynch said at the combine that McGlinchey's to this day is probably still bothered by it. So I think the 49ers of all teams know how serious that injury is. So he was another visitor. I think it's very much related to the injury, and they just want to cross all their T's, dot their I's on that one. But Josh Connerly from Oregon, Ariante Ursery from Minnesota, Anthony Belton from NC State. These are all other tackles who visited and projected to be either second round or third round picks.
How much so you do a great job reporting on the 30 visits and you have that whole list up. How much did we read into these? Because I hear about the Rams who purposely don't do 30 visits. Because if you go visit the player, you don't have to report it to the league. Whereas when the player comes on a visit, you have to report it. How much of this is the 49ers? Maybe it's like with Walter Nolan, they're trying to, kind of dig into his background. Is there any aspect of this that's just trying to kind of throw teams off the scent where they're like, yeah, we'll bring in all these guys that we have no intention of drafting?
I don't think so. That's the smokescreen theory has been popular among fans. Oh, they're just bringing that guy in as a smokescreen. I don't think they do that. I mean, they get 30 visits. The 49ers take the visits very seriously. They're the ones that started the Top Golf thing. That's a big topic of conversation in Washington. People couldn't believe it when they heard that Adam Peters took 20 guys to Top Golf during the visit. They thought it was just a waste of time. But the Peters had been doing that for years in San Francisco.
Yeah.
And they did that last week too. And it's all of it is designed to kind of see what type of guys these are. I mean, I think Shanahan, this is, the reason he doesn't like to go to the combine is because the interviews have become so rehearsed that it's impossible to get a real read on who the player is.
Sure.
In the Top Golf outing, it's not perfect, but it starts to give you a better gauge of what these guys are going to be like around the players in social situations when they're not having a formal interview with the head coach, which they've been coached up on. They've had several of these. It's almost they're on autopilot at that point. So Shanahan's very intent on trying to figure out the essence of somebody. Who is this person at his core? And like I said, there were a handful of guys who I think were brought in for that purpose. These are guys who are talented players, James Pierce, for example, but who have sort of a character red flag about them. And when I say character, it's not always like, run-ins with the law or he got into fights with the coaching staff. Sometimes character is the guy is studying, biophysics, or he wants to become a surgeon after the NFL. How serious is he about playing NFL football? Admirable quality, but if you're an NFL team, you don't want the guy worried about, his health and, his eyes on a different career. You want him to be 100% focused on playing football.
Right. I want to go back real quick to the offensive line thing, because there was a note I had down here that I did not get to. It doesn't sound like publicly the 49ers view offensive line as big of a need as maybe the kind of general public does. It was a position that throughout the offseason, I'm writing, man, they could use an upgraded tackle. They need to figure out their starting left guard. They could use an upgraded center. But then at the league meetings, Kyle Shanahan gives this full-throated, impassioned defense of Jake Brendel. Sounds like they're satisfied with Colton McKivitz' progress last year. Do they view their need at the offensive line as, well, swing tackle and then long-term Trent Williams replacement, and that's it?
I mean, you just said it, and this goes back to the regular season as well. Whenever you talk to Chris Furster, whenever you talk to Shanahan, and you brought up one of those perceived weaknesses in the line, they always gave the guy a lot more credit than the public does. They're not bringing in a lot of guards. They brought in one center, Jonah Monheim from USC. Yeah, to me, the biggest gap is that tackle spot, the swing tackle spot, and probably the only one you're assured that they're going to address in the draft. Remember last year they brought in obviously Dominic Pooney, and then they drafted Jarrett Kingston, I want to say in the 6th round. And I think he would have factored in this year. I think in this offseason, he would have been one of the guys we're talking about. Can he compete for that left guard spot? He got snatched up by another team. And that's what happens when you got a lot of talent like the 49ers do, and you can't keep everybody on cutdown day. Right. So, I mean, they are thinking about those positions. I don't think that you're going to see an interior lineman drafted on day 1 or day 2. I think we're talking 4th, 5th, 6th round for those guys.
Seems that way. The other position that really jumps out to me, and when I kind of do these list of needs, linebacker always just, it's in a weird spot, because I went into the offseason thinking, all right, D Winters, Jalen Campbell, they got Tatum Bethune, they'll kind of figure that out and maybe bring somebody in, another late round pick, like Bethune was a 7th round guy and Campbell was a 7th round guy, Graham and Winters was.
Who's this Jalen Campbell guy? Is this a new guy that they brought in?
No idea where that name came from. Jalen Graham, sorry. But Chris Paul Jr. was your draft crush this year.
Yeah,
linebacker from Mississippi, really, really fun player. Is explain.
I mean, if we learned anything in 2023, or wait, what was last year? 2024.
Yeah,
I'm being now told that last year was 2024. It's that the 49ers need a good, consistent weak side linebacker. I mean, they just didn't look right all season. And I felt like Paul is a weak side linebacker. And more to the point, he's a lot like Dre Greenlaw. He brings a kind of feisty, pugnacious element to the table. Is it Dre Greenlaw levels? I don't know. Dre Greenlaw level is like Genghis Khan level. I mean,
habitual line stepper. Yeah,
exactly. It's hard to match that, but Chris Paul has a little bit of that to him, and like I said, they need guys at that position. Not only did they say goodbye to Greenlaw, Demetrius Flanagan-Fowles, who I don't think was anything special at linebacker, but he was part of their rotation. He was the guy that they would put in there at strong side linebacker, sometimes at weak side linebacker if there were enough injuries. So, I mean, they're down 2 linebackers right now. Curtis Robinson is coming back from an ACL. They need linebackers. I think Paul would be a good one. Jeffrey Bassa is another guy that they spent time with at the Oregon Pro Day. They brought in Kane Madrano from UCLA. He was the fastest linebacker at the combine, played weak side linebacker for the Bruins. So he's sort of a natural fit as well. I think at some point they bring in a linebacker, and 7th round, they've got 3 picks right now. Very easy to see one of those 3 picks being a linebacker as well.
Yeah, I don't know if anybody's beating out Jalen Campbell for a roster spot, but we'll see.
We'll see. He's got great 40 time that Jalen Campbell.
The other thing I keep seeing in mock drafts and projections is the 49ers taking a cornerback in the 1st round. I personally feel like that's insane. Where do you land on that idea?
I want to say that there's no chance in hell that they take a cornerback there, but as soon as I say that, they're going to take a cornerback. So I agree with you. It seems unlikely. It's not, it's against their philosophy. They're obviously a team that puts the defensive line ahead of the secondary. I feel like they are comfortable with taking cornerbacks in, fourth, fifth, sixth round. Deommodore Lenoir, DJ Reed. These are guys that they found in the fifth round who have turned out to be really good. So I think they know what they're looking for. I expect them to take a cornerback. I don't think it'll be on day one or day two. Day three, perhaps. I just think that people, put cornerback there because they like the player and they just need to slot him somewhere. And, if you get to, I just did a beat writer mock with the other athletic writers, and it got to 11, and Mason Graham was taken. The two tackles were taken, Membo and Will Campbell. Michael Williams was taken. So you're looking at, maybe half a dozen guys who are sort of rated the same. So if you're a mock draft maker and you have the Michigan cornerback Johnson, I don't know his first name. This is how little research I've done on the top cornerbacks.
First name is not Jalen. I can tell you that much.
If you have him rated highly, it's very easy to slot him into the 49ers. It's
Sure.
It is more a ease thing than a good fit thing.
All right, last few things here. I'm just curious to get your thoughts because I've been tossing this around in my head a lot. If something weird happens and Ashton Jeanty falls out of the top 10, do the Niners take him?
I don't think so. The question would be whether a team trades up at that point. They want to get ahead of the Cowboys, for example. Cowboys need a running back as bad as any team. So maybe the Denver Broncos trade up at that point. I don't think that the 49ers take him. The reason Jeanty might fall out of the top 10 is because this is such a good running back class. And that a team picking in the top 10 figures, you know what, we'll get our running back in the third round. We're still going to get a really good guy. I would imagine that's what the 49ers are thinking too. They would perhaps use Jeanty, maybe even Tyler Warren as a way of trading back and then getting one of those I just talked about, half a dozen guys that they could have gotten at 11. You're going to probably have a choice of three of those same guys at pick 20, which is where the Broncos are. So that's how I see Jeanty and the 49ers kind of meshing.
Shifting gears away a little bit from the draft, semi-related though, do you get the feeling that there's an urgency to contend for a Super Bowl this year? Or is there an understanding that this is the quote unquote reset year and they want to win? They're going to try and win games. They're not punting the season, but is the urgency there to compete for a Super Bowl now? Or is this year more about 26, 27 and beyond? I believe those are the next numbers.
You can say that they're fooling themselves by thinking this way, but I think that Shanahan believes that a good off season, which begins with rest, and then the second thing, and it's starting tomorrow, is the off season program. He wants a kind of full slate. He wants good attendance, and he wants momentum. Now we can talk about whether he's going to get that or not, but he believes that if he has that, plus the fourth place schedule. Plus a roster that still has Christian McCaffrey, George Kittle, Fred Warner, Nick Bosa, still one of the more talented rosters in the league. All of those things together, they almost made it to the Super Bowl in 21, for example. They lost in LA to the eventual Super Bowl champion Los Angeles Rams. I think that this 25 team is more talented than the 21 team. And that one caught fire and marched through the playoffs and nearly made it. So I mean, I sort of agree with him in that case. I mean, good offseason plus avoid injuries, a lot of good things can happen.
No doubt. So I guess so that it's April 21. So like you said, the phase one of the offseason program begins tomorrow. I don't imagine that Brock Purdy's going to get a contract signed here in the next 20 hours or so. Do you expect Brock Purdy to be there? And B, this is two-part question by me. That's bad work, but I'm hoping we can work through it. Would you expect Brock Purdy to show up without a contract? And B, are they approaching these contract talks differently from an urgency standpoint? Like, hey, we don't want this to last into September.
I don't think they are. I mean, it seems like they've taken the same tactic that they've taken with George Kittle, with Nick Bosa, with Deebo Samuel, with Brandon Ayuk, which is to take a kind of hardline stance that's slower than what we all think is, about what Purdy should be getting. Mm-hmm. The question is whether they'll capitulate faster or not. And I think that I don't know the answer to your first question. Will Brock Purdy show up? And I don't think the 49ers know that either. And I think this is part of the game. It's like, okay, this will be the first real kind of litmus test for this contract situation. We feel like Brock Purdy is a responsible, duty-bound guy who was picked last in the draft, who we have under contract for 2025, who we can put the franchise tag on 2 years in a row. We do have some leverage here. Let's see how he reacts to it. And maybe he's just such a good guy, such a good student, teacher's pet type that he comes in anyway, even if it's not done. I mean, I don't know whether he is or isn't. He's been coming in to work out, in a unsupervised way, like a lot of these guys do. But I would think that ultimately that's a bad gamble for the 49ers because of their history, because of what I just said about Shanahan wanting this to be a drama-less off season, and because Brock Purdy is successful because he does have a chip on his shoulder, because he does believe in himself, because his ego is bigger than you think it maybe should be even, and he's played well too. So all those things point to this having the possibility of the type of protracted situation that the 49ers frankly need to avoid this offseason.
Yeah, I'm right there with you, man. Matt Barrows covers the 49ers for The Athletic. Obviously, you do a phenomenal job doing that. But you're also an author now.
Yes.
You wrote a book with your sister, Muddy the Water. I'm in the middle of it, so no spoilers. But, dude, loving the book. Where can people get that while we're here?
You can get it any place that you order books. Amazon, Barnes & Noble, Goodreads. There's just a lot of reviews of it on Goodreads. All the independent booksellers as well. I got one over my shoulder here. So look for that cover in your bookstores. Local bookstores have it. Barnes and Nobles for sure. And we've been doing a lot of meet and greet signings in the Bay Area recently. So I think we got one coming up in May as well. But you're into chapter 1. You've read chapter 1?
Yeah, I'm through. I made it through chapter 1. Thinking about moving on to chapter 2.
Okay, good.
How that goes.
So, are you on chapter 2?
No, I'm deep into the book. I've got, I don't know, maybe 3 or 4 chapters left. I'm way into it. I'm at the point where I take the book with me wherever I go, because I'm like, hey, if I get 10 minutes to burn, I gotta figure out what's going on. It's just, it's so good, dude. It's really good.
Well, you'll be interested to hear that the Charlie character is based on me. So that's sort of my beginnings in journalism were similar to Charlie's.
Okay. Are All right, very good. I'm thinking about what I can and can't say.
Yeah, me too. Me too.
Yeah, no, that's very interesting to know, and I will continue through the book with that in mind.
I don't consider myself quite as obnoxious as Charlie is or was, but it's sort of an exaggeration of my personality, I'd say.
You're like, yeah, the Charlie character. I'm like, yeah, I hate that guy. Can't stand him. No,
You're meant to hate him. Yeah.
Is there anyone else in the book that's based on real people that you could?
Not specifically. That my sister is a journalist too, so a lot of the characters are amalgams of people that she and I have worked with. But it's basically based on my first job, which was in South Carolina at a paper called the Island Packet, that had a small circulation, and it was a great newspaper. I had the best time, but this is sort of a fictional, rendition of what I went through.
Yeah, just I love the story, not so much the mystery of it, but just kind of the untangling of all the stuff that happens. Again, trying to do this spoiler free, and then but all the journalism stuff in it is
that's all like totally authentic.
Yeah, it's my favorite part. It's just all
write
the, like,
what you know, Kyle. Write what you know.
Yeah, man, it's great. And then that first session, sitting down with an editor, where they just destroy your piece, and I'm like, oh man, oh god, hit me in the soul, man. It's a great book. I hope everybody reads it, and I hope everybody enjoys it. And thank you so much for dropping by Candlestick Chronicles, and we'll do this again soon.
Yeah, sounds good. Look forward to the draft. Thanks for having me on. I missed Chris, but I understand his absence. It's an excused absence.
You have full permission from me as his podcast partner to give him the who's who, the what's what, and I'm gonna go so far as to say you can give him the what for next time you see him.
Okay. All right.
Yeah. All right. Very good. Thanks so much, Matt.
All right.